Okay, we have another amazing storyteller coming to the stage. She looks like my very first girl crush, Punky Brewster. She's got a fantastic pair of frames on. Her name is Scout Durwood.
I do look like Punky Brewster. Thank you so much. Okay, so growing up, it was of the utmost importance to me that my father loved me. And in retrospect, like, he probably just did. But as a middle child with needy sisters on either side of me, I felt like something worth fighting for. So I dedicated a large portion of my childhood to convincing this man that I was someone worthy of his love. Now, my dad was and is a man like made of magic. When I was a kid and we were learning how to make words plural, I came home one day and my dad drove a Lexus at the time. It was a company car. And I was like, Dad, is the plural of Lexus, Lexuses, or Lexi? For those of you who know anything about making a word plural, US is a very conflicted territory. And my dad, when we got home, walked inside and picked up the phone and called the Lexus dealership. And he said, hi, can I speak to a manager? Ballsy move, Dad. No floor representative for this guy, straight to the top. So they put a manager on the phone with my dad. He goes, hi, Woody Durwood here. And I should say now that neither my father nor I have ever at any point in our lives used our given names. I go by Scout, he goes by Woody. Neither of us were born that way. It's like our way of just being like, calm down, world. We'll take it from here. So he gets on the phone and he goes, hey, Woody Durwood here. Can I speak to a manager? Great, hi. Quick question. When you look out on a lot of your cars, do you say, oh, there's a bunch of Lexuses? Or do you say there's a bunch of Lexi? Uh-huh, great. Okay, great, thank you so much. Nope, that's it, thank you so much. And he hung up the phone and looked at me with newfound authority and said, Lexuses. Was there anything this man could not do? And as a kid, he used to put on Bert and Ernie puppet shows over the door when my sisters and I were in the bathtub. He drank Diet Cokes by the dozens, which were strictly forbidden to my sisters and I, and he belched loudly at the completion of every can, which inevitably made everybody but my mother burst into laughter. When I was about 8 years old, I was crafting with an X-Acto knife. I was cutting cardboard. And my dad, rightfully so, was concerned about that. I was an 8-year-old with a murder weapon. So my dad's like, hey, Scout, are you sure you can handle that knife? And in theory, I could have just been like, yeah, I'm being careful. I got it, Dad. But I was convinced that I had to get this man to love me. I had to convince him that I was something worth loving. And just saying, yeah, I'm okay. You don't love something that's okay. You love things that are exceptional. So instead, I took the X-Acto knife and threw it into the air. Like high enough that my dad and I made eye contact while it was still on its way up. And I think what I thought would happen is I'd throw it into the air and then put my hand out, and without looking, it would land in my hand like a ninja, and I'd be like, yeah, Dad, I can handle a knife. And I would keep cutting, and he'd be like, my daughter's exceptional. She laughs in the face of danger. And then I would know forever and ever that my dad loved me because I was good with a knife. But instead what happened was this. I threw the knife in the air high enough that we made eye contact while it was still on its way up. But at this point, I couldn't back down from the plan, even though I knew it was a bad idea. As soon as I threw that knife, I was like, oh, fuck. But I didn't say fuck because I was a kid. I was like, oh, smurfs, like whatever kids... I don't know that vocabulary anymore. So I threw the knife up, and I couldn't back down, so I just kind of looked at my dad and, like, just Daria style, put my hand out, like maybe something not totally terrible would happen. And my dad and I both watched in horror as the knife landed straight up and down in my thigh. Which was no way to convince someone to love you. So I doubled down, and I committed to that plan, and without breaking eye contact with my dad, I took my little 8-year-old fingers and wrapped them around the knife, pulled it out of my thigh, and said, yeah, Dad, I can handle a knife, and kept crafting. And my dad looked at me with horror, probably because this was like the moment he realized he was raising a serial killer. But he wasn't. He was raising a comedian, which, to be fair, neither profession has a solid retirement plan. So years later, I figured out I was gay. Now, figuring out you're gay, if it's a thing you're going to do in your life, happens at way different time frames. Some of us do it, it's like a lifetime journey. For some of us, it's like one semester in liberal arts college, and we know. And that was me. When you figure out you're gay, you have to start telling people you're gay. And even more terrifying, you have to tell your parents that you're gay. And even though you think your parents are cool, there's still this not ill-founded fear inside of you that when you start telling the people you love that you're gay, the people you love are gonna stop loving you because of the people you love. Which isn't fair, but it's what happens sometimes. I have plenty of friends who didn't get to graduate high school on time because their parents kicked them out when they found out they were gay. And there are worse stories to go around for sure. And I do believe it gets better, and it does. It's easier to be gay now than it was 10 years ago, and I firmly believe it will be easier 10 years from now. I don't think there are take-backs on tolerance. Still, coming out to your parents is very scary if you've never done it, and at the time, I hadn't. So in the grand Durwood tradition of like no willpower and late night eating, it was like midnight and my dad and I were just making cheeseburger snacks. It's just apropos of nothing, full-blown cheeseburgers. And I decided like this was the time. So I looked at my dad and I was like, hey Dad, do you remember my friend Bachel? And I have to pause here and acknowledge that my first girlfriend's name was Bachel. And she's Indian, and I would say, like, why didn't you go by a nickname? But Bachel was her nickname, which I will never understand. And I now know that botulism is also like a bacterial infection that comes from canned food. But at the time, I didn't know that. And if I had at the time, I would have like been aware of how ironically foreshadowing it was that Bachel was kind of a toxin in my life. Like, it was not a good relationship. Like, not because we were gay, it's because like we were young and had like different conceptions of like what love was, and just were not good in general at being people because we were under 25 and our brains weren't fully developed. But so I will acknowledge that I missed the opportunity to make a joke about the name of my girlfriend, which was Bachel, but I can't go back and fix that now, and I'm not going to lie to you. So I just looked at my dad and I said, hey Dad, you know my friend Bachel? He said, yeah. And I was thinking like, God, 19 years of making this man love me, and it hangs in the balance of this single conversation. Don't fuck this up. I go, all right, so you know Bachel? She's not just my friend. She's my girlfriend. Like, my girlfriend. And I don't know why that repetition means anything, but our society has decided it does. If you say girlfriend, it means something else. Like, Bachel's my girlfriend. And then I waited. And nothing happened. And then my dad swallowed a bite of cheeseburger and goes, oh, great. And that was it. And I was expecting this huge backlash, and when it didn't come, I kind of started to flounder, and I was like, yeah, and we're real happy. And so that's what's up. Is Bachel's my girlfriend. So I'm glad, good. And then just like a wave of silence. When I was in 6th grade, my dad quit his job. He had a big fancy job, see Lexus company car above, and he just quit. It was working for his family business, and he hated it. He always hated it. He hated wearing a suit. Mostly he hated wearing that suit. He hated everything it represented. He hated the lack of creativity, but it was working for his father. And I thought I had to fight for my dad to love me. I can only imagine what my father thought about his father, who to my knowledge never made a belching joke in his entire life, like a very serious, scary man. But for my dad, it came down to either living a lie the rest of his life and saying he liked this lifestyle, which he didn't, or being true to himself. So in the end, my dad chose to have a difficult conversation with someone he loved at the risk of that person no longer loving them, and I had done the same. And all of this is like washing over my brain in the kitchen eating cheeseburgers at midnight, and I'm just thinking, oh my God. Coming out stories in general are like really boring. Like at this point, all of us have heard more than one of them, and as a gay community, we're tired of feeling just like people who are reduced to some secret we've had to keep, so I don't like telling mine. And I don't think of my coming out story as having anything to do with the fact that I'm gay. I think of it as the time I realized love is not something you can make stronger by fighting for it. It's just something that is. And the less you try to meddle with it, the better. So last February, I got engaged. Not to Bachel. Though she's married. I think Facebook. I got engaged. And I say engaged even though we've mutually decided we like don't want to get legally married because of taxes and also because like, what does religion even mean anymore? But we do have like a big love party to celebrate our commitment for each other. And my dad's going to be there. And he's going to be phenomenally happy. Not only that I have found love, even though it's within like an alternative lifestyle, I'm not doing a wedding thing, but because I found love and it's alternative, I'm not doing a wedding thing. Because at my weird alternative love party, it's not going to be about anything other than what it is. We're not fighting for anything. We're not proving anything. And as a result, nobody at that love party, nobody, is going to expect my father to wear a suit. And I know he could not be any happier about that. Thank you guys very much.